Hi everyone, welcome back. In the previous session, we have discussed about what is meant by cross-site stripping, that is XSS vulnerability in the OWASP top 10. And also we have done a practical based on cross-site scripting vulnerability in a live site. In today's session, we will learn how attacker is taking a victim's session ID auto keys by exploiting the cross-site scripting vulnerability. This is achieved by a second payload which will communicate back to the attacker. Before we start the session, I will give an idea about how it's going to work. Here, I am going to explain how it's going to work. Here we have two windows, that is an attacker screen and also user screen. At first, the attacker is going to send a malicious payload to the victim. After receiving this payload at the victim side, if victim click on this or victim execute this malicious payload, the payload will communicate back to the attacker. In the previous window, we have just input a malicious payload to pop up an message. But in this case, the attack is little more advanced, which means in the payload, attacker will input two different contents. That includes attacker's IP address and a port number. So once the victim click on this malicious payload, the communication will happen through this port number to this IP address of the attacker, and finally attacker will get what the action they are planning to have. Here I type NC minus LBNB followed by 1111. So now the Netcat listener, NC means Netcat listener, it's a listener for listening to a communication happen through a specific port number. Here, the NC is listening to the port number 1111. Like I told you, NC means Netcat, minus L means listener mode. So by including minus L over here, it simply means Netcat should be on listening mode. And minus V means verbose. Verbose mode is for getting more output regarding this connection. It will show a detailed output to the attacker side. Then after minus N. Minus N means numerically. So we know that whenever we search for any specific website, it is a human readable format. While we press enter, the browser is requesting for the DNS server for the IP address of this specific domain. So the request is going from our browser to the DNS server. The DNS server will give the IP address back to the browser. Then browser will be able to locate the resources we are looking for. But here we don't need anything like that. So minus n is for numerically, which will avoid the chance of looking for DNS. Then after minus p means port number. So here we are specifying a specific port number. In the example I told you, I was giving a port number as 1111. So minus p means it is looking into a specific port number, that is 1111. Now I will show a payload which I am going to execute. This is a script which I am going to execute. Script document.location equals a URL. If you look carefully, it is for getting the cookies of the browser. So once this has been executed in the victim side, it will pop up the victim cookies. But our intention is not to pop up a cookie over here, but it is to connect. Here you can see C equal documented cookies. So whenever the cookies is being found, that will be given to C. Then this cookies will be sent to this IP address through the port number 1111, and finally I will get these cookies in this specific IP address. So let's try this one. So listen everyone, it is a vulnerable application called DBWA. I have already done some video about installation of DBWA in Kali Linux and also done some practical. So here I am showing how this payload is going to execute. So I have input this malicious payload over DBW application. And like I told you, it is to get the response from the victim to the attacker side. Like I told you in the very beginning, I have already enabled the listener. That means Netcat listener. So our objective is to cover the victim cookies. So once I execute this malicious script in the victim browser, you can see it is just executed. But the reply will be coming back to the listener. So once the victim browser was executing the malicious payload, attacker is able to collect the session ID of the victim. So attacker can try planning a session hijacking based on the vulnerability in the application. This vulnerability occurred because of one reason. Here, the malicious payload was executing in this input tag. This input tag was supposed to accept only a text, a name, but there was no input validation. Whatever malicious script I am inputting, including a number or a special character, this was been accepted by the input field. And you can see it got executed in the URL, which means this application is not having any input validation. It should properly validate the input which I am entering is string or any special character or anything. If it is string only, they have to accept. Otherwise, they have to discard it. That was security issue happen in this application. So I hope everyone understand how XSS vulnerability can be exploited. In the next video, we will learn about how more vulnerability can be exploited. So see you in the next video.